Alright, welcome to day 50, week 8 of Mastering Astral Projection. Let's see, so the first part of the chapter he talks about mental barriers. So these are things like fear and facing the unknown, surprise, that sort of thing. I don't know, it feels repetitious. We've gone over most of this stuff before. He just basically says, being in fear of things can get in the way, and he gives some tips for confronting your fears of the unknown. But basically, his tips are just like, well, pay attention to everything I already told you. So, if you're afraid of anything, just breathe. And pay attention to all of the preparatory work that you've done so far, and know that everything is cool. He talks about the darkness and, doing the astral projection in the light, which we've talked about already. Losing control. This was an interesting one. So often there are sensations of falling and things like that. And he said, you might practice like falling into a friend's arms, or laying some pillows on the bed and falling into the bed, or falling somewhere else. Just practicing letting go and falling, just to get in preparation for that experience happening during the OBE exit experience, which seemed like a pretty good tip. Talked about sleep paralysis again, and he says it's normal, falling sensation. He says exit symptoms have been, they can be mild, and the exit of the body can occur unnoticed, and this causes sleep paralysis. Basically, he said the way to not go into sleep paralysis is to either be rested before you do the work, or stick to your plan. And focusing on the breath, and then the concentration on the big toe should you become paralyzed during the sleep. Don't panic, focus on your big toe, get it to move. The minute your big toe will move through your will, it'll break the sleep paralysis. So that's all I'm going to cover for today about that chapter. We'll get into more later. And the affirmations for this week. Morning. I am sensitive to the energies that move through my body. I remain tuned to the subtle shifts in awareness and the feeling and effects on my body. Every day, the passages and conduits through which my energy flows grow clearer, cleaner, and brighter. Evening affirmation. I recognize the exit symptoms from my nightly astral projections. The feeling of leaving my body provokes my conscious mind to become clear and alert. I awaken and relax to the experience of release. The rope technique this time, he calls it the hanging rope technique. So you imagine that there's a rope hanging from the ceiling above you, you grab it, and then something is hoisting you up. It doesn't do it continually like it's motorized, it's more like there's people up there kind of pulling you up. So imagine that you're pulled, then it stops, and you're pulled again, and it stops, and it's the sensation of pulling you up suddenly, giving you a jerk that helps you to move out of the physical body. There was something that Brian had said, and it was, he said you might add a slight swaying sensation to it. So that's essentially it for today. I had weird dreams last night. I don't even want to tell you about them. They were very strange. But my experience today, sometimes, so we're moving to the next brainwave generator, week 8, exit pattern, and I don't know, sometimes I think that thing's moving all over the place, but sometimes I feel like it puts me to sleep, because I felt pretty energized when I started the work, and then I realized about halfway through that I was drifting off and not able to recover. I feel like what happens to me is I get tired, and then I find that I black out, and then I come back and I'm like, oh, where was I? An interesting thing happened. I remembered a dream, or at least it felt like a dream. It was really strange. So I was doing my trance work, and suddenly I was watching a dream fragment, and I was on a ship. Did you ever see that movie Captain Phillips? It reminded me of that. It was like people had taken over the ship, except they weren't people; they were dogs. In fact, there were two dogs, and it was like dog become human thing where the dogs took over, and they were running the ship, and there were two specific ones that were, one was captain and one was like his first mate or something, and then once I realized that I was watching this thing happen, then I realized, hey, that was a dream, but it didn't feel like a dream that I just had. It felt like I remembered a dream that I'd already had. So I don't know what really happened, but that was interesting. I haven't had that experience happen while I was astral projecting or while I was going through these exercises. But what seems to happen is I get to the place where I am done with the sleepy part, and suddenly I start trying to get back into doing the exercises, but I can't quite remember to do them, and I keep falling back into it, and it becomes, I just get kind of lost in dreamland. So I think it's more about just learning to ride that line between sleep and wakefulness, which I'm trying to master. I think there's a key in there somewhere. But sometimes what happens is, if I wait long enough, the sleep goes away, and then I'm just awake. But then I get monkey mind, and my brain just starts like going and going and going, and it won't let me get back into the exercises and focus on them. So it's interesting. Anyway, I think I'm done. I'll see you tomorrow.